But recently, and tell me if you guys are feeling this too. In the past, I'd say 2 months. And Lisa, we talked about this before. You said something. There was some kind of energy you were talking about, like meter. But people have just been nasty lately, like just mean, and like under typical circumstances, just lashing out. And we're in a customer service business, and I've been doing customer service since I was 12. Whether it was catering, pumping gas, bussing tables, waitering, bartending, all that stuff, and I've always worked with the public. So I'm used to dealing with people, but like I haven't seen this kind of nastiness um in my life. And are you guys seeing the same thing? Like people just coming off the rails and not for like legit stuff. And then there's some people that should be coming off the rails that are just super kind, right? And that's why I put a post out there today. I'm like, you'll know people. It's been like that since COVID. Yeah, I agree. It felt like it just heated up really over the past, I'd say, month or so. Just hit another level of like awful. And so yeah, I try not to react to it and jump into that pit with them. But sometimes I just want to go old school and act like I'm back in junior high or something. But just keep your head up and keep stay professional and do the right thing. And so with that, I got to thinking like everybody needs a break. And I'm never that guy that says it's time to take a break. I'm always the one that's like, let's grind. And especially this time of year between Thanksgiving and spring, because I'm like, it's separation season because everybody lays up. And if you get after it, if you get on the phones, you do your marketing, you do your stuff, December will be your best month. For me, December's always my best month. However, this year, I'm like, look, I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm just going to retreat. I'm going to take a break. And for me personally, I'm putting God first. And then I'm putting my family and then work. We're still working. We're still doing the job. But I'm just going to lean into taking a break, retreating, recharging the batteries, and then just come out stronger because these rates are going to come down. The market is going to come back. I heard somebody tell me 3 years ago, they're like, the motto is, what he say? Stay alive till 25. He was like, stay alive till 25. And I'm like, dude, that's such a weak motto. But now we're so close to 25. I'm like, all right, we're here. And if you've made it this far as a real estate agent or a lender, um, it's going to be great because when this market comes back, there's just going to be so much more market share for you. But in the spirit of taking a break, Rusty Pettit is somebody I've known for about 5 years. Who knew travel agents still existed? Did anybody know that? Like, I thought they were all wiped out. You guys all knew this? Like, it was shocking. He's like, I'm a travel agent. I'm like, dude, how do you have a job? Like, do you have a job? Like, doesn't everybody just do online? And I will tell you, you don't pay any more money for Rusty. And for me personally, like I book a lot of like weekend hotels, or even right now I'm in a hotel because my son had to he's making a college visit. And it's easy to book a hotel, but I often book hotels and I get there and they're nasty. They're not clean. They're in a bad area. Something's not right. So the last one I said, hey, Rusty, can you book it? And here's what I'd like 15 minutes closer to home from the 6 hour drive I'm making. And I just want it to be clean. And he nailed it. And then this one, I said, Rusty, can you book another one? He nailed it again. Those are simple. But I know he books extravagant, like month, 2 month, going to Europe, going to Asia, doing all kind of crazy cruises and included in Disney cruises, or not Disney cruises, but Disney trips. And the best part is, if anything goes sideways, you're not sitting on the phone trying to figure stuff out. Rusty's here for you as customer service. So he always picks up his phone, he answers it, and helps it get done for you. And the reviews I've heard, and Rusty and I have been doing business in a business networking group for now like 2-3 years, and then we've been in a men's Bible group for like 5 years. So I've met with Rusty twice a week for the past 3 years, and then at least once a week for the past 5 years, and just have heard what people say about the trips they take when Rusty does them. So with that said, Rusty, have at it and just share some of the stuff you do for the people on this call so that they can take a trip, recharge, and come back stronger for themselves, their friends, their family, and their business.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. Can everybody hear me okay? Let me test the mic out before. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think part of the reason maybe we almost didn't exist when you and I met, Jeff, because it was during 2020. So travel agents took kind of a hit. Obviously, the industry itself was non-existent almost for better part of a year to year and a half, and then has made a really big rebound. And Um, I kind of based this presentation off of some of our conversations, Jeff, as far as that goes, just kind of letting you know what we do as a travel agency and how we're able to help our clients, the types of trips we book, a little bit about my background. And I have a PowerPoint. Is it okay for me to share that, Jeff?
Yeah,
I
you
can't.
should have access.
Okay. All right, I'll share that. And there's a couple videos on, they're not long, they're short. There's some new commercials we just had cut, but that'll kind of give you an idea of some of the stuff we do too. So I'll start sharing that screen and uh all right, try to put it in slideshow. All right, does everybody see that? Did that come across in the slideshow mode?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. So yeah, my name is Rusty Pettit. I own a Cruise Planners franchise. Cruise Planners has been around. We're actually celebrating our 30th year. In business, or maybe it's 31 now that we've crossed into the latter part of the year. My 10-year anniversary of owning the franchise is actually going to be in a couple weeks. Basically, the beginning of December is when I opened in 2014. So celebrate 10-year anniversary, which is awesome. I never dreamed of necessarily being a business owner or entrepreneur long time ago, but here I am, and I'm loving it. A little bit about myself. I had a winding road to get here. Grew up on a farm down outside of Waynesburg, and went to Penn State as an agriculture major, and then eventually got my theater degree there as well. So I got a BA in theater and a BS in animal science, which have nothing to do with each other. But I did work in entertainment for about 15 years as a professional actor and singer, and so that's a little bit. That was one of the cruise ship contracts I did. I think that's on Celebrity Cruise Lines. So I did that, had a great time, got to travel a lot. And one of the things that enabled me to do was see the world. So I feel like I always joke that I've kind of lived about 10 years of my retirement already because I met my wife Kelly working on Norwegian Cruise Lines in 2008. We got married in 2009, just celebrated our 15th year anniversary, but I didn't get married until I was 35. So I traveled a lot before that. So got a little bit late start to the rest of it, but wouldn't change it for the world. And God's plan is always the best plan. So this is my family here. This picture's a couple years old. I got a newer one of us on a cruise ship there, but that's my wife Kelly. My son is Easton. He's the oldest. Reagan is our middle child, and then Morgan's the youngest. And that's our dog Leafy. She's no longer with us, unfortunately. We have two crazy pups now, an Australian Shepherd and a Australian cattle dog. Um, but now I do sing still. I sing, Jeff mentioned it earlier on the call. I sing in at Champion Christian Center on the Champion worship team. This is us. We recorded some original worship, praise and worship songs at our Canonsburg church a couple years ago and released the videos on YouTube. So I can throw that link up in the chat later too if you guys like praise and worship music. It was some pretty cool stuff. It was a great experience. But yeah, so love still getting to share God's gift now in that venue, especially. This is just one of the new commercials I have. This is a little bit more about exotic travel. So we do all kinds of travel, but this is pretty interesting because these are some off the beaten path locations that maybe people don't always think about. So I'll start that now.
Go beyond the obvious in pursuit of authentic ways to experience the world. See stunning Antarctica, explore the Galapagos Islands, fall in love with South Africa, trek through some of the world's most remote places. Take the path less traveled and discover iconic destinations in exhilarating new ways. Who's booking your next expedition?
So that's yeah, that's like I said, a little bit off the beaten path. Those are more like expedition travel. Expedition travel is one of the fastest growing areas in the travel industry right now, whether it be Antarctica, they mentioned the Galapagos Islands, safaris in Africa, those sorts of things. Even into more remote places like river cruises that go up the Amazon, things like that. So for people that have a little bit more time, because a lot of those trips take longer than a week, that's been a really cool experience, and we've been able to hook some of our clients up with those experiences as well. So I'll go a little bit about Cruise Planners itself. As I mentioned, 30 years in the travel industry. It was started by Michelle Fee. She's the president and CEO. She started with a couple other travel agents where basically they wanted to create a model where travel agents could work from home. So they developed the franchise model, and it started out with just a handful of agents that were willing to give this a shot. And she came from a brick and mortar travel agency and just wanted, like to create this model where agents would have the freedom to kind of, be able to not have the overhead of the building, but also be able to be a little bit more mobile and service their clients. So if you can see now, more than 2,500 franchise owners throughout the U.S., and we are licensed in bonded insurance travel agency. We're members of CLIA, which is these are CLIA and the others are basically advocacy groups. The CLIA, for example, is the Cruise Line International Association. It is a group that's basically formed of all the major cruise lines as well as travel agents and travel agencies. So it's how they kind of work together and can kind of and help the industry out better in places like Washington, D.C. and stuff when things come up like that. So those organizations. Um, Cruise Planners itself, like I said, it's been around for a while. We have done really well as a company as a whole. Our franchise has done really well too, but just kind of give you an idea of the relationship that we have with a lot of these vendors, whether it be Disney. And Jeff mentioned we do Disney cruises too. So we don't just do Walt Disney World, we do Disney cruises, and then Disney has a great land product throughout the world too. But these are just some of the different partners that we have that really give us a great relationship with them. So when our clients come, and it's not just with issues they might have while they're traveling, but it could come even in the planning the trip where there might be a sale that Royal Caribbean is offering, but we have an extra incentive that we can add on top just simply because we've had a great relationship with Royal Caribbean, and they want our travel agents to be able to sell their product. So that's kind of the reason, I guess, as a whole, that travel agents exist in general. If you think, would a cruise line or all-inclusive resort or anybody in the travel industry, are they better off hiring more people to sell their product, or are they better off paying a commission to people who will go out and market their product for them? And that's where we come in. So the clients don't pay us anything. There are some agencies I think that do have maybe some fees that they use. We don't, as an agency, we've never done that model. We basically will book the trips. If people book through us, the vendor, whether it be a cruise line, hotel, tour operator, Disney, any of those places, they pay us a commission based off of what is booked through us. So Jeff mentioned also a lot of people do like to go online and just do it themselves, and that's fine. You can book a lot of travel on your own, but when you're doing that, you're really just using an online travel agency. Expedia, Travelocity, Booking.com, all those things, they are travel agencies. They're just online. So a little bit of a difference between the human travel agent versus the online travel agency. Of course, using an agency like mine is supporting a small business. The idea is the biggest idea, at least I think, is saving you time and stress. Like a lot of the things that you might spend hours and hours kind of looking and narrow down, we can help you do that. That's our job. And we can personalize it to you. So when we start planning a vacation for someone, we base it off of the questions that we ask you and the answers that you give us. So let's say, for example, you want to go to an all-inclusive resort. We narrow things down by like, okay, let's set your priorities first. How long can you travel? When do you want to travel? What is your top priority when you get there? Do you want a resort with a beautiful beach? Is it better to have a great variety of restaurants? Do you want a place that's going to offer you some really great off-resort options like excursions and things like that? So we narrowed the options down based on what you tell us you're looking for. Whereas when you go to an online travel agency, it's all automated and you can do the work and you can find those things, but it's going to take you a lot more time. So hopefully, like that's a service that like that people will see a value in. That's what we strive for. So the types of travel we book. By the way, this picture on the right, I love this picture. This was we're looking to go back here. This is Alaska, and this at the time I worked on ships for about 10 years, and about the time that this picture was taken, I think it was 2007. That port is called Icy Strait Point. If you guys have cruised to Alaska, you may have gone there in the last decade or so. It was very new port at this point, and so the ships had to tender, which you can see our ship is docked, or not docked rather. It had to drop anchor out in the harbor, and then we took smaller boats to and from the shore. I'm taking this picture as I'm going down what at the time was like the world's longest zip line. It still might be. and that was pretty cool. A little side note about this: we had gone on an excursion earlier in the day where it was called a bear walk. The idea was they take you out to a river and you watch the bears as they feed on the salmon as they swim upriver. We didn't see any bears on that bear walk, but when we got to the top of this mountain for the zip line, we couldn't get off the bus because there was a 900-pound grizzly bear there at the top of the mountain. So we had to wait for them to scare it off before we could get on the zip line. So we kind of killed two birds with one stone on that excursion.
Rusty, can you hear me?
Yeah.
My nephew Chad just went to Alaska with his wife like
Mm.
6 months ago. Hands down, he said that is the best place on earth. He goes, the pictures don't even do it justice. I don't. He's the only person I know that's ever gone there, but I heard it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's my favorite. If like I've sailed, there's a lot of places I haven't been, but I've been to tons with being working on the ships for 10 years and now cruising on them. If you told me tomorrow, like, hey, you can go on any cruise anywhere in the world, where you want to go, I would go back. And this is after spending 4 summers in Alaska. I would go back there in a heartbeat. He's right. The pictures really don't. Like every day you walk outside, you feel like you're walking into a painting. It's that beautiful. And this picture doesn't certainly do it. Like you can see some snow-capped mountains in the back, but um, that's just the harbor by Icy Strait Point, and it's still beautiful. But some of the things that we do book, obviously, we do book cruises, all kinds. So that's cruises like on the ocean, that's river cruises, that's expedition cruises. We work with all the major cruise lines throughout the world. And one thing I like to tell people, that a lot of people will ask, what's the difference between booking through you versus booking through a cruise line? If you call us, if you call, or sorry, if you call the cruise line like Royal Caribbean or Carnival, or in this case, Celebrity, the person you're talking to on the other line works for them. But if you call us, we're working for you. We want to book your vacation, so we can book when we obviously, we're going to work and find you the best cruise on any of these. And because I think all these cruise lines are great, people ask what's my favorite one, and that really depends, because it depends on the type of cruise I'm looking for. Because I think they all have some really great aspects, but some are better than others in certain areas. As far as our number two would definitely be all-inclusive resorts. Prior to COVID, I would say this was about 50-50. We did about 35 to 40% cruises and about 35 to 40% all-inclusive resorts. But since COVID, the cruise industry itself has just boomed. Like we probably still book as many all-inclusive resorts, but it's crazy how much cruising has taken off in the last 3 years. We do Disney and Universal and other theme parks. We do guided tours. So guided tours would be when you would be with, say, a small group, anywhere from 25 to 35, maybe 40 people, and travel to different destinations. This is very popular in Europe. You would fly into a destination, say, for example, Italy has a lot of guided tours, and you would fly into like Rome, and you would maybe start on anywhere from a 7 to 14-day journey. And depending on how long it is, you're going to visit like 4 or 5 different areas of that country. And while you travel between them, either on rail or motor coach, you're traveling with the group. They have things built in like excursions. Most of your meals are taken care of. And then they're also going to give you some free time to relax or explore on your own. And so a lot of people do like this type of travel because they get to immerse in the destination itself. But it's structured, so you don't have to do a lot of thinking and a lot of planning on your own. Customized vacation. Now that's where we do a lot of these all over the place too, including Europe and Asia, and South America even. But these would be the exact opposite, where like we take a template or what you want to do as far as an itinerary, and we design it for your party of travel, whether that's one person, two, three, four, however many. We had a couple families of 6 travel to Croatia last summer on some customized vacations. And this is planned out for you, but you're traveling with just your own family or group. And so we can do those pretty much anywhere too. Weekend getaways, that's kind of what Jeff mentioned, just the quick hotel stops. If you need a hotel to go, we've done a lot of these, whether it just be one-night hotels or people spending a weekend in Nashville or maybe in Niagara Falls, Vegas. We do a lot of these as well. Group travel, if you like to travel with groups, for example, like maybe it's a class reunion, family reunion, maybe it's a work group, like an incentive-based trip. We've done those too. I've done 2 cruise groups where it's been continuing education for different industries. One was for a group of physical therapists as well as occupational and speech therapists. They did continuing education while we set up the cruise for them and had the meeting room set up. So it was a way for them to get their CEUs while they were traveling on a cruise. And then I actually traveled on that one with that group. Another one that I did was for a group of lawyers that did continuing law education at sea as well. And I didn't go on that one, but we had a pretty large group on a Carnival ship that sailed out of Los Angeles that did the same thing. They got to take some classes and earn credits while they were traveling. Um, Cruise industry is it's grown quite a bit. Just to kind of give you an idea, they measure cruises size in gross tonnage. I think the Titanic was somewhere in the mid 40, like maybe 45,000 gross tons, and that was built in 1912. I sailed on a ship in that I worked on in Carnival in 2003 called the Carnival Jubilee. They have a newer ship called the Jubilee now, but the one I sailed on was when it was built in the 1980s, it was 46,000 tons. It was the largest ship in the world at that point. So from 1912 to the 1980s, the size of cruise ships didn't really change a whole lot. However, where they've gotten to now is pretty big. The largest cruise ship in the world is the Icon of the Seas. It's over 250,000 gross tons, so over 5 times the size of what the Titanic was in 1912. This ship here is the MSC Meraviglia. This is the last cruise that we took. It's out of New York City. And this one, to kind of give you an idea, about 171,000 gross tons. So a pretty large ship. It was the largest ship that we, or no, well, I guess the second largest that we've sailed on. The one we went on in February on Carnival was just a touch bigger than this, but there's a lot to do on it. There's water slides and water park and stuff for the kids. There's 2 different theater venues where you can go. There's a casino. There's several different restaurants. There's just really, really great. This company MSC has an awesome spa on board, and we had a great time. That one sailed out of New York. We did a Bermuda cruise in September. And here's a bit of a smaller option. I talked about the expedition travel. This is an example of an expedition cruise ship. This is owned by Viking. This is the Viking Octantis. A lot of people know Viking for their river cruises, but they've also ventured into ocean cruises and now more recently expedition cruising. So this is one of their expedition cruise ships that stays in the Western Hemisphere. This is a picture of it just off the coast of Antarctica. I had clients that took a cruise on this where they started in the Amazon and then they ended up in New York City. And then that ship continued on and went, and it did during the summer, it did cruises around the Great Lakes. So that's a pretty neat option for travel. As
Rusty,
far as where, sorry, go ahead, bud.
did you say that started in the Amazon and ended
Yes.
up in New York City?
Yes. Yeah, it was about a 2-week cruise altogether where they started in South America and made their way up through the Caribbean and eventually finished in New York.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's those smaller expedition cruises. They call that, I guess, that would have been technically a repositioning cruise because that cruise ship was in the southern hemisphere for what we would have as winter and their summer, and then during the spring is when it moved up, and it did in our summer. It spent the time up north, whether it be sailing to the Arctic Circle or in the Great Lakes. And I wanted to show this slide just because this kind of gives you an idea of where cruises leave out of the U.S. Um, of course, Florida. Everybody knows that there's tons of cruise ports out of Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and now Port Canaveral. Port Canaveral is actually, I think, the busiest cruise port in the U.S. All around the Gulf, you've got places like Galveston, New Orleans, even Mobile, Alabama has a couple ships, and then the West Coast, of course. What I like to feature for people around here is if you're a family like mine, where you have a family of 5, and you may not want to buy 5 airline tickets. One of the ways to do it is do one of the drivable ports. So you can go to Baltimore, Maryland, maybe Norfolk, Virginia. They're going to have a full-time cruise ship out of there next year with Carnival. The New York area has both New York City and Bayonne, New Jersey, right across the river, and then even cruises out of Boston. Boston may not be drivable. I'd probably fly there. But starting in 2026, Philadelphia is actually going to have a Norwegian cruise ship that sails out of there. So you could just drive across the state and catch a cruise. And then, of course, a couple that aren't shown on the map, there are the cruises that take place out of Hawaii. There's one ship that does cruises out of Honolulu. It's a Pride of America owned by Norwegian Cruise Line, and it's a U.S. built and flagged ship, so it doesn't have to leave the United States. Most cruise ships do have to leave at least one non-U.S. port. This one does not, so it can do 7-day cruises around the islands. And then, of course, Alaska through the Anchorage area, and then sailing back and forth between Vancouver and Seattle. drivable cruise ports I mentioned. We've sailed out of Baltimore, and now we've sailed a couple times out of New York City. This is much more recent picture. Kelly and the kids um, drinking their virgin daiquiris as we sail out of New York in September. And that was the ship on board. This is pretty cool. Like they had this LED screen that went the top and all the way down the length of the promenade, and it changed every day. So there was like a different ceiling every day. It was pretty neat. All-inclusive resorts. We do a ton of these. I took some pictures of some of the ones that we've traveled to. My wife Kelly and I went down on about a 5-day trip, and one of those days I set up time to tour a handful of other resorts because like just like anybody else, we like to do our own research. So while we're there, we're like, why not see as many places as we can so I can recommend or not recommend these locations. We stayed at Secrets Maroma Beach, which is one of my favorite resorts, if not the favorite one I've ever been to. But the beach in the Maroma area of Mexico is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. We had an ocean view room, so it was just a little picture from our room. Sometimes ocean view doesn't mean you're right on the ocean. It just means, hey, you can see part of the ocean from here. We did the Ocean Riviera Paradise. That previous one that I just showed was an adult only resort. This is a family one. This was a really cool resort. This pool literally sits feet away from the beach. So you can be in the pool here, or you can just walk on the other side of that pool and you're right on the beach. I kind of like that feature. And this is a family resort, so they've got lots to do for the kids as well. Another family resort that we toured was Royalton Riviera Cancun. We've booked this one a lot. It's a great property that has a family resort on one side and then an adult only one on the other. So it's a good mix for groups of maybe you have some families that are traveling with kids and others that just want to be a little bit more quiet area of the resort. And this is the family side here, but they've got a great beach at the Royalton as well. Eldorado Maroma is an adult-only property that everybody thinks you have to go to Bora Bora or Fiji or someplace to have an over-the-water bungalow, but that's not true. They built these over-the-water bungalows, and they're just south of Cancun in the Riviera Maya area. You can see there, that's some of the over-the-water villas that they have at that resort. And then it's a little bit smaller type resort. Some people like what they call a boutique style, where it's a little quieter, not quite as many people around, and not quite as big of a property to walk around. So this is a good fit for that. And then this is one of the newer resorts that just got built about 4 or 5 years ago with a huge water park, the Grand at Moon Palace. I always like swim up rooms when I go. Everybody likes ocean view. If you give me a choice, I'll take the swim up because I like walking out of my room and right into the pool. I think that's a nice little way to wake up every morning. So one of the things we talked about a bit with the online versus the in person or using a travel agent like myself, like the idea, hopefully the best thing you're going to get out of the entire experience is the personal touch. Like I said, we're going to base things off of the vacation that you want, because I can recommend things all day and what I think is great, but ultimately it comes down to what your tastes and desires are and what vacation you would like to take. There's no guarantees in anything. We've had some crazy things happen, especially with flights this year. And as Jeff mentioned, we are there to help our clients get through those hurdles when they happen. I think one of the most random ones, we had 2 couples in Aruba in August, and I got a phone call from them during the vacation on their way back, which is usually not a good sign, and it wasn't in this case. The Aruba airport, the day before they were supposed to fly home, had their entire air conditioning system go out. So they canceled all the flights for that Friday, and my clients were supposed to fly home on Saturday, and the airline decided that they were going to bump one of the couples off their flight. So we had to scramble and try to help them get home, and they did have travel insurance, so we're trying to get them reimbursed for some of the extra costs that they had to incur for that. And that's one of the things we always recommend to people is when you're traveling, especially internationally, travel insurance is huge. A lot of people don't want it because it's an extra cost, but when you have to use it, it's invaluable. Whether that be for cancellation or for maybe some medical coverage while you're traveling, because a lot of people's insurance doesn't necessarily travel outside the country with them. I threw this one last video here. We got the chance to take a river cruise in Europe about a year and a half ago on the Danube. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. We booked quite a few river cruises through Viking and Avalon and AMO Waterways and some other companies. But this is one of my favorite types of travel. It's great for adults that want to get away and really want to get immersed into an area, but also want to see a variety of countries. These ships are they're intimate, they're small. You're going to have less than 200 passengers on pretty much all of these ships, sometimes maybe just about 120, 130. All of your food and everything is taken care of just like it would be on a normal cruise, but they pull up right into the center of these towns and cities, and it's really a cool experience. So I'll start this video now.
Looking for a different kind of cruising? Immerse yourself into a culturally rich vacation like none other. Sail past castles along the Rhine and Danube, France, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Ukraine, Portugal, or even China on a river cruise. Wander through the city lights and ornaments of the European Christmas markets. Connect with the locals. Indulge in the tastes and flavors. Experience their heritage, history, and unique customs. Travel in smaller, more intimate groups, and make unforgettable memories with newfound friends. With many river cruises, the experiences are all inclusive of drinks, excursions, and gratuities. Now, who's booking your river cruise vacation?
I'm Rusty Pettit with Cruise Planners. Call me at 412-770-6511 or visit rocktheboatcruiseandtravel.com and let's start planning.
Yeah, as much as I talk about online travel, it's our website, rocktheboatcruiseandtravel.com, it actually does have a booking engine on it for cruises. So you can book, if you really want to do it yourself, you can actually go onto our website and book the cruise too. But always recommend you call just because there might be some other offers that you might have available that that might not show up on the online part. But, and last but not least, is just kind of the theme of the thing, why why you shouldn't wait to travel. I love this picture, this couple on a gondola in Venice. And yeah. Don't wait till you're too tired to travel. Do it now. Take advantage of the time, and I'm glad to answer any questions here. I'll take that off.
There was a warning in the chat too, not to take a river cruise with a certain somebody that's on the call, but I won't say it out loud. So there's other warning signs you need to take as well.
It's not as funny because she's not on the. I saw her photo
Oh,
run past, and it was super funny when she was on there, but
Yeah.
she's not on there now.
she had to get her hair did. She had an appointment at 10, and she's like, I promise I'll make it. And any questions for Rusty about travel? Like, I had no idea about this stuff. And as I learned it, I'm like, man, I want to share it with everyone to know. Because for me, it would be painful to do all the details and book it. But if you could just call Rusty, tell him what you want, and then he knows all this stuff is it's his passion, right? And it doesn't cost you anything extra. You have the insurance, you have the concierge service, and you have somebody there that's got your back. Just like we do for our clients as agents and lenders. So anybody have any questions for Rusty? You can just unmute and ask if you do.
Did you put his information in the chat somewhere? Are you going to send that to us?
Yeah, yep, we can do that for you. And if you want, I'll put that in.
You want me to type it in there, Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead. Throw it in there, Rusty. And then the other thing is, so next, I'm not sure about December. We're talking about embracing a retreat and taking off. So December, I'm considering not doing the growth zone because it's like the week of Christmas. But there's two things I want to cover, and I want to hear from you guys in the chat which one you'd want to hear from first. At Stockton, they hired somebody about 6 months ago who's done over 2,000 renovation loans, and they're an expert in the renovation category. And, you know, I was talking to him the other day about coming on the growth zone and talking about reno loans. So if that's something you'd be interested in learning about, we're going to dive into it because all too often these properties need something. And nobody ever buys a house, even brand new ones that are the way they want them. So they want it customized. If you'd like to hear about the renovation loans and the process, you know, I'll have him on. And then the other one is renovation loans. Oh, property management. Do you guys like property management companies are so hard to find? But I believe I found one, and I was going to have him on as well. He's a general contractor, but they do everything from a portal, from collecting your rent to managing the properties, to checking in every 6 months with your clients. And it was very affordable. So yeah, let me know which one you'd want. I haven't found a good one good property. Yeah, I'm with you, Cindy. Like, yeah. Yep, and I knew Costa did it. I called him too, but didn't go deep with Greg on him doing the property management stuff. But I got a guy that, like, the reason he started it was because his mother wanted to stay in her place. And so he went over and was taking care of her, and he's like, man, there's a need for this. So then he started a property management company, and it appears like he runs it absolutely beautifully. He's got processes, he's got systems, he's got professional people in place. And I actually, December 1st, I'm turning one of my rentals over to him. My wife already turned her rental over to him, and she's like, it's been a huge burden lifted off my shoulders. So those are the two growth zones that we'll have coming up next. So if nobody has any questions, thank you for joining. I know hop on here for a half hour and you're not working on your business or in it, but hopefully this helps, right? Helps get you reset today and then help you do better business going forward. So if you guys need anything, we're here for you, and have a great day.